Us through this story, and is the guy Indonesian? Because the post was in Indonesian.
Yeah, so this is the big question. So basically, holders of Ether, which is the currency for Ethereum, they have something called a wallet, and they're only identified by those very long characters, about 16 or so completely random collections of letters and numbers. And so we spent a few days trying to work out who might be the biggest holders of this, and it's pretty much impossible to identify a wallet with an individual investor. The one exception being that there was this sort of slightly mysterious Instagram post from an Indonesian investor who claimed credit for it. And then the story kind of goes through who might be the most likely people to be making the big money out of this. I mean, from what you just said, that's a 400% return in a month. So there's certainly people out there making a lot of money. It's just really basically impossible, and that's by design, to know who those actual individuals might be.
Who are the likely billionaires?
So one we know for sure is a guy called Mike Novogratz, who used to be in Fortress, and he says he's got about 10% of his net worth in sort of cryptocurrencies. That comes to about 100 million. The other two most likely candidates are sort of the founders of Ethereum. So that would be Joe Lubin, who is said to have perhaps hundreds of millions in this currency alone, this single currency, and also the original creator, a very young Russian, 23, called Buterin, who has said on Reddit, so not entirely reliable, but on Reddit at least, that he has about 100, 200 million of that.
Now, in terms of the secrecy surrounding it, you have people like Novogratz who says it's actually something holding it back. But then you have a lot of people who buy not just Ethereum, but invest in Bitcoin also, who do it just because it's secret. So is there sort of a tipping point coming where one of those parties is going to win out? I mean, does it look like anything's going to change here?
I think they're pretty much at loggerheads. So you have, as you say, some people who perhaps want to treat it more like, kind of just a different form of currency, who would say, hey, we need to have some kind of sort of regulation here. We want some perhaps...
To give it credibility.
Exactly, because that's the big problem is, if you don't have who's on the other side, some people are saying, hey, I don't want to get involved in that because who knows where this money's coming from. But then on the flip side, and philosophically, this is really where Bitcoin and Ethereum came from, is why should identity be tailed into these financial transactions? And
when it gets used for things like ransomware attacks and they demand to be paid in the likes of Bitcoin, at some point regulators, I guess, have to step in, and then either of those two parties don't get a choice if the regulators make a decision that unfortunately greater information's needed. No, definitely, and that's sort of what, the more you see of those attacks, the greater that pressure builds. So the European Parliament, for example, has said, hey, virtual currencies, they cannot be anonymous if they want to sort of have the impact on the world they hope to.